It is 3 years, 259 days since the Ukraine conflict began, and across much of the country, Ukrainians were woken to the constant sound, once again, of air raid sirens. Some sleeping in metro stations, in makeshift bunkers too, as Russia carried out another onslaught by air. 25 locations targeted, more than 450 drones launched, and 45 missiles. In the city of Dnipro, 2 people were killed, 3 injured when a drone crashed through several floors of an apartment block. And in his latest message to the nation, this is what President Zelensky had to say in the past few hours.
The main target of this strike were our cities, our energy sector and our people. Tragically, there are fatalities in Dnipro. A Russian drone hit an apartment building, and as of now, 3 people have been reported killed in the city. Sadly, there is also a life lost in Kharkiv. My sincere condolences to all family members and loved ones.
Well, accurate news is hard to come by right now in what is a bleak situation for Ukrainian forces fighting for the defence of the city of Pokrovsk. It is a so-called fortress hub in Donetsk region of east of Ukraine. Moscow claims it is now within its grasp. It is encircled. Kyiv this week has acknowledged it's difficult. The special forces have been sent in from meat grinder type conflict. There are constant Russian push and probe, constant drone attacks on top of the frontline fighting. The so-called fortress hub because it is a key supply route. It's also key for the coal in the steel-making industry of Ukraine. Russian soldiers have been fighting and dying in significant numbers in one of the longest battles in modern times and seen as the biggest prize for Putin since the fall of the city of Avdiivka in the start of last year. Well, Ukraine's 7th Rapid Reaction Corps is part of the air assault forces and says in the last few days that Russia has been carrying out assaults through the week to the east of the city in an area called Mirorad. But disinformation flows in the absence of information coming through. Anna Conkling is an independent war reporter based in Kyiv. He's been reporting from the front lines for some time, including Pokrovsk in the past. Great to have you on the programme. Welcome to France 24, Anna. First of all, there are a few...
Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you with us. There are a few that can give us an understanding of what Pokrovsk was to what it has become. So let's go from there first. This was a city with around 60,000 people. Tell me what it was like the last time you were there and how you found it.
The last time I was in Pokrovsk was in January. So by then the city was already in ruins. There were very few people that were walking on the streets. The people that remained in the town that I was speaking with were telling me that there was no electricity, there was no heating, there was no hot water. There was very little humanitarian aid. Most of them were just going to one church that had food and water for them. The city administration had already left as far back as December, and in August is when families with their children were forced to evacuate. So the situation was already bad even in January. It's been bad since around August 2024, and it's just gotten increasingly worse.
When we look at the figures for the amount of months Russia has been pushing and pushing, the comparisons to Bucha in this kind of meat grinder type conflict, I think there have been comparisons made by Deep State, the Institute for the Study of War as well, suggesting that it's actually calculate a snail's pace. It would actually be faster in that time. It's around 10 kilometres that they've moved. But the fact is, at least the reports that we're seeing that appear credible, they've they're around the east of the city right now. But what's your information in terms of where the fighting's going on? How close is Pokrovsk to falling?
I think it's definitely looking very grim for Pokrovsk right now. There's a lot of conflicting information. The military in Ukraine says that they're not encircled, that there are small clusters of groups of Russian soldiers that are infiltrating into Pokrovsk, around, I think, 300 a day is what I've read. But then the Russian foreign ministry says that they've already encircled Ukrainian troops. There's a lot of confusion about really what's happening, but I know from my sources that are soldiers or that are evacuators in Donbas that Pokrovsk could fall pretty soon. It's very hard to tell, again, because the news is always changing. In the past, we've seen that Ukraine has been able to push out Russian troops from places like Dobropilya, but at the same time, it does seem that this could be kind of maybe the final days of Pokrovsk under Ukrainian control.
I think I'm right in saying there's one main road out of Pokrovsk. There was reports, some Ukrainian military reports suggesting that there was about a 15-kilometre gap And again, it depends if the Russia's view that it's encircled the area is true or not. Kiev denies that it is. But it's interesting listening to the language of President Zelensky, isn't it, this week as well, saying that the Russians have delayed their deadline to capturing it. So he's not talking about holding and pushing back right now. What do you make of those rumours of encirclement? And given you've talked about the diminishing numbers of people in the city, tell us a little bit about the evacuations that you're seeing, the contacts that you're having of those trying to leave.
Those that were trying to leave, I think most of them have already left by now. The people that remained, often as it is throughout the war, the people that don't have anywhere else to go, they're often elderly or they're impaired, or they feel that they don't have enough money to start their lives over again. When I was in Pavkovsk in October 2024, I met a young woman who was around 25, and she and her husband had already fled Pavkovsk at the beginning of the war. They had moved to central Ukraine and they were living in a gymnasium with other refugees. But then they said that around 2 months into their stay, they were told that they needed to leave to make room for families with children, so that they had nowhere else to go. So then they returned to Pavkovsk. That was in October of last year, and she was telling me that they're scared and they don't know where to go next. I lost contact with her. And then by January, the people that remained, again, were all elderly. I didn't see any young people, any families with children. I just saw people that were saying that they're taking care of their mothers who are extremely elderly, or that they don't have any money to flee anywhere else, because the people that end up staying in these towns and villages, whenever they've become so dangerous that it seems that everybody should leave, are the ones that they feel really that they don't have anywhere else to go. It's the same thing that I saw in Dobrpilia in August, when Russian troops were advancing in this area, and it was constantly under bombs and missiles and drone attacks, and people were there saying that they don't have anywhere else to go. So evacuations, I think, have already completed in Pavkovsk. They probably completed long ago, because I don't think that many evacuations happen whenever Russian troops get as close as they are in Pavkovsk. But again, the people that remained, I know that there are some people that are there, but I think that even they're probably trying to find any way out by now. I know that in the past we've had reports of Russian soldiers shooting the residents in Pavkovsk that remained, and that was just maybe 2 months ago.
You will be used to, because you've done some incredible reports in the past couple of years on the situation across Ukraine. You'll be used to the ebb and flow and rhythm of information that you're getting from contacts from soldiers, and the absence of that at a time of crisis right now in Pokrovsk. What are you finding in terms of trying to reach out to people and what you're hearing back?
By the time it gets to a point where a city is as close to falling as it is Pavkovsk, I completely lose contact with all of my sources there, unfortunately. Even in January, there was no way to call people or to do follow-up interviews with anybody, because nobody was answering the calls. I rely heavily on the people that have actually left their towns and villages, who are living somewhere else, like Dnipro or in Kyiv or in Kharkiv. Those are the ones that can give me insight into what their parents or who have remained in those places can tell me about the situation. It's really hard to keep track of people and where they're going. I know that a lot of people, when they left Pavkovsk, they went to Dobrpilia. And when I was in Dobrpilia, they were saying we've already left Pavkovsk, or we've already left places that are under Russian occupation, like Bakhmut or Avdiivka, and we don't know where else to go. But then aside from that, I try to keep in touch with the military, but you never know, if your military contacts are going to be alive the next day or not. So it's very hard to keep constant information on what's happening. It's hard for everybody in Donbas. I know that many of the people who are living there now are trying to find any way to leave. I know that Russia is advancing towards multiple areas in the Donbas region, that there are evacuations that are trying to be underway, but that there are constant Russian drone attacks, there are constant Russian FPV attacks that make it so that even the people that are living in places in Dobrpilia that are not on the front lines right now are at risk for their safety, specifically because of these Russian drone attacks.
And it's that balance to try to find out what's going on, isn't it? To not feed into the Kremlin narrative, but even hearing from the Ukrainians, I think openly defence officials talking about being outmanned by about, 8-9 to 1, outdroned by about 9-10 to 1. When you look at the Special Forces operation that was sent in, and again, disinformation coming back from Russia, we don't know, but they claim that they downed one Black Hawk helicopter. Do you know how that has gone or is still going?
I'm not really necessarily sure on the situation that's happening exactly on the battlefield in Pokros right now. I just came back to Ukraine today, and I'm going to Donbas on Monday. But I've heard just from the soldiers that I know, or some of the soldiers that are now in hospitals receiving treatment in Kyiv, that Pokros is in a really vulnerable state now.
There were a few people who know Pokrovsk before, and as you say, you've seen it at various stages of the conflict. How recognisable are those satellite images, the images that you've seen of inside the city centre that you've looked at, to how you have seen it previously as a city that it was?
I think that it's obviously very difficult for any journalist who has been embedded in this story for almost 4 years to see what the war does to these towns and these cities that we've been to multiple times. It's something that I think every journalist who had stayed in Pokros whenever they were reporting on places like Bakhmut is feeling right now. Whenever you go to these places, you obviously make some sort of connection with the places that you're reporting from. You're meeting with people who are so strong and who are saying, that they're resilient despite the constant drone attacks. And seeing these images are really upsetting when you know that these people that you've spoken to, they might not even be alive anymore, or if they are, you don't know where they're living. I'm constantly thinking about the people that I've met in Pokrovsk right now. So it's very difficult to see these images, seeing just really how bad it has gotten in Donbas throughout this year, because last year there were places in Donbas that were easier to get to. Life was still carrying on as normal as it could, but right now in Donbas, I know that many journalists are saying that they maybe will go for the last time this fall, or they're taking really calculated risks and not going to Donbas as frequently as they used to, or as easily as they used to.
And when we hear about the two kind of big reasons, Anna, why this is a fortress hub, one of them being this key logistics hub to keep supplying the lines in the Donbas, in Donetsk, and the other that it's very important, perhaps the most important site for coking coal used for the steel industry. How bad is it if Ukraine loses it? How easy is it to resupply elsewhere?
I think that when it comes to coking supplies and the natural resources, it's one topic that this mine is already shut down. It already shut down earlier this year, so it's not in operation anymore. But really, for Ukraine and for Russia, it's a very symbolic victory of who can keep control of it. For Ukraine, obviously, it means that they can keep control of part of their country, an important part. But the railway has already been closed down. The coal mine has already been closed down. It's really symbolic to make sure that Russia doesn't advance, doesn't take another town, another city that is Ukraine. And then for Russia, I know that also Vladimir Putin has been pushing this narrative that all of the residents of Donbas are Russian speaking, so that they're Russian residents, and that Russia seeks to control it. And Putin has also said that in order for there to be any end to the war, any ceasefire, that Russia seeks to control the entire Donbas region. And for Russia, that would mean that taking Pokrovsk is just one step closer to reaching that goal.
Anna, great to talk to you. Good luck in the Donbas in the coming days. Stay safe as well in the Donbas. Great to have you on the programme and speak to you again soon. Thank you. Anna Conkling, independent war reporter based in Kyiv.